Have you ever heard the term that somebody was born to do something? Well, I like to think that I was born to do this. Now, not what you're thinking. You're thinking, Alpha, you were born to talk about underwear and manscaping? Well, sort of. It all started from a very young age. My mom likes to tell the story of me going to kindergarten for the first day, where I come downstairs and I'm all decked out and I've got my underoos over top of my pants and my pant leg taped tightly around my ankle. My mom goes, "What are you doing? Take the underwear off and put them on underneath your pants." I'm like, "I got a pair on there too, Ma." I loved underoos. There was no keeping those things hidden in my perspective. Why hide good underwear? And it always comes back to underwear, doesn't it? But she said, "What about the ankles? Why are you taping your ankles?" I said, "Mom, I don't like the way that the pant leg flares out." I probably didn't use the word flare, but I was all into superheroes, and I liked the way that superheroes' legs were all nice and thick. Anyway, so she sent me to school. She was like a free-to-be-you-and-me hippie and didn't want to stunt my creative whatever. And I'm happy that she didn't. My mom was amazing, and she did a super great job letting me basically express myself. When I was about 7 years old, I got a haircut, and I was very upset about it. I was like, "Oh, this haircut's horrible." So I actually asked my mom to get some clippers and scissors, and I actually, at a ripe old age of like 7 or 8, started cutting my own hair, and I got pretty good at it. Good enough that I thought I should take my act on the road. And so I actually got in trouble. Most kids get in trouble for like cursing and spitting and doing so. I got in trouble for cutting the neighbor kid's hair. As a younger kid, I was like 10 at the time, and he needed a bowl cut. I needed to practice giving bowl cuts, apparently. It was back in the day, gentlemen. Bowl cuts were cool. They're not so much. Anyway, so my mom looks out and sees me cutting this kid's hair. I thought it looked amazing at the time, but apparently his parents and my parents did not agree, so I got in trouble. Alright, fast forward to high school. We're fairly poor, alright? Let's not sugarcoat it. We didn't have a lot of money, but I was always into style and fashion and looking good and putting outfits together. And the funny thing, the ironic thing, is that I actually got voted best dressed in high school. And what the big joke was that all of my clothes came from my grandmother or from thrift stores. I never went and paid full price for anything. I didn't go shop at a normal store. We didn't have the money for it. But this was my first example of, hey, you don't need to spend a lot of money in order to look great. None of my friends knew that all my stuff were like, their old stuff that they had no idea, it's just one of those cool things that I look back on now and I'm like, oh, so that's what I was doing. I was developing a business model when I was in high school. So I graduated high school and I decided to go to college. I went to West Virginia University because I heard they had a good business program, and I knew that I wanted to own a fitness center. All this other style business, it was just a nice side hobby. Well, one of the ways that I helped pay for my education was actually cutting my friend's hair. I did approximately 15 to 20 haircuts a week, and just from guys, you'd be like, oh, you did $5, right? It's cheaper than they could get, and they all wanted to look pretty good, and I think that my haircuts were fantastic. Alright, so now I'm out of college and I go to work at a large fitness chain, Bally's. And I meet a guy and we decide that we're going to open a nutrition store. We opened 2 or 3 and I decided that that isn't really my cup of tea and I wanted to open and own a fitness center. That was my dream. For as long as I could remember, my grandfather, I'm driving along next to him. I'm like 12. He's like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "Own a gym." He's like, "Alright, cool." And so I graduated college, I went nutrition store, that didn't work out. I met a woman, her name was Linda, and I actually met her at the nutrition store. And I helped her transform her body and her life. And she lost like 70, 80 pounds, it changed her whole perspective. She was in corporate America and said to me one day, "Hey, you want to open a fitness center? I want to do this full time." And I said, "Yeah, let's do this." And so we opened a fitness center and that was miserable the whole time. But while I was there, and like I said, I wouldn't take back anything that I've done because it really has led me to where I am right now. During that time, I met a gentleman. His name was Steve, and you guys know him as the Vanilla Gorilla. And the guy I just went to Destin, Florida with, I met Steve, and I was a personal trainer. And we started working out, and one day he came up to me and said, "Hey Aaron, you're always looking pretty good when you're not in your training gear, and I was wondering, I've got a date, and I don't really know what to wear." I go, "Yeah, hey, why don't I come over to your place, we'll go through your stuff, see what you have, see what you need. I'm definitely not going to let you go out on a hot date without getting your hair cut, so we're going to go and do that, and by the way, your nose hairs, we got to trim them because they're killing me." Anyway, I didn't know what I was doing, but I was setting up basically a business model. So he goes out on his date, everything's cool, and he worked at the Weather Channel, still does. And he went back to work, and some of his female coworkers noticed the change because we went shopping and did all that thing. And they said, "Hey, Steve, you look great." And he said, "Yeah, my friend from the gym actually took me shopping." So I got a call from a woman who wanted me to take their husband shopping. And I'm like, "Yeah, all right." She's like, "Well, how much do you charge?" I'm like, "Charge?" And that's when the light bulb went off. And so I had the opportunity to sell my fitness business. But during this time where I was transitioning out of it, I started doing more and more consulting, and I was thinking, I'm like, is there a business in this? Would guys actually be interested in having another guy, another straight dude, take them, help them, and all that good stuff? Well, lo and behold, they were. So I started a website, and I started an image consulting business. I got some more training. I learned all about suits and tailoring and fit and color and this and that, and the rest is pretty much history. I decided to start filming, doing some YouTube videos about 6 years ago, and the rest, my friends, is history. So that's sort of how I became Alpha M, gentlemen. I thought I would share. If you have any more questions, please shoot them my way. I'll be happy to answer.